Now, pop that 40 and kick back. Here is Dan, Nick, and Ken.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the initial edition of the Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Sitting next to me, actually, physically, is my co-host Nick and Dan. Nick, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself, Ken?
I'm doing pretty good. Dan, how you doing over there?
Chilling. This is the first time we've actually. Oh no, we did one time before sit next to each other.
We have. That
right.
was with less efficient hardware.
Oh,
therefore, which is why
and a barking dog
and a barking dog. Yeah, that's the thing too. Is we do not
was
have
that
any
barking dog Milo? By any
that
chance?
barking dog was Milo.
Oh yeah.
We do have a guest coming up later in the show. We're going to have Eric Briggeman from the Michigan Brewers Guild. He's also the brewmaster of the Rochester Mills Brewery. But we wanted to kind of get in touch with the fans. We want to tell everybody what we are, what we're about, who we are, and a little bit about our favorite beers, our favorite breweries, how we rate beers, how we talk about beers. This is not going to be your ego-stroking, barrel-aged, everything is the greatest thing in the world because it's barrel-aged or it has, an IBU of 150. We like beer because we like beer, just like we respect you if you respect beer. If you like it, you find it good, then it's good for you, and we don't care. Whether that's Bud Light, whether that's Killian's, which we were drinking before down the road, or whether it's the beer that we're drinking right now. So we're going to start off with Nick. Nick, tell us a little bit about your favorite beers, breweries.
Wow. Really, I don't have a whole lot of favorites. Pretty much drink, whatever's given to me. I mean, with the exception of like hams, I won't drink hams.
How do you not drink ham?
I had a bad experience with ham.
Everybody has a bad experience with hams.
Tell me a story that starts with a great night story with and we were drinking hams. It doesn't exist.
Well, we only have a 2-hour show. I don't think that'll suffice.
Well, you won't be able to think of it. It'll just be like every single bad story. Yeah. Like, I can't tell you how many times Dan and I have gone to Vegas and you get quarter hams at the Vegas Club. And it's just like you don't even go to drink at the Vegas Club, or excuse me, go to gamble. You just go there, buy a quarter hams, and go back on the road.
Well, anyway, I don't really have a favorite beer. I do have some favorite breweries. I'm a big fan of Atwater Brewing over down in Detroit, Motor City Brewing over in Midtown. That's another one, another favorite of mine. So I stay close to to downtown as best as I can with the favorite breweries at least. But Atwater is probably close to my heart right now.
Have you been to the park yet? Or
I have. I've actually been there twice. And both times it was just insane. It was almost like a club as to how many people were there, outside and inside. You have this picnic setting outside, and he has a bar outside, and then you have the indoor part. It was crazy both times.
Dan, have you been to the park yet? Or
no, I don't even know. Tell me about the park.
So Atwater in the Park is basically the second brewery / restaurant of Atwater. We're going to be talking about it a little bit later, but they're opening up a third beer garden up in Grand Rapids. But the Atwater in the Park is over in Grosse Pointe Park, and they have a lot of single batch beers. So beers they're only going to make once, maybe twice total. Therefore, you're going to have a bigger selection than your standard Atwater selection, which is around 12 or so. You're looking more at like a 40 beer selection. So the beer is good. It's in an old church, which is pretty much like every new bar that comes up in Detroit right now. I don't think Dan was there, but we went to St. Cece's not too long ago. That was after going to one of the breweries too down in Corktown. We had Batch Brewing, I think, or Brew Detroit, one of the two. They're both really, really close to each other.
Yeah, they're like right down the street.
So Atwater in the Park's really good. It's definitely, if you're looking for something new or something different to try, but it still has all the Atwater standards too. It has Grand Circus, it has
Decadent,
Purple Gang
Pilsner, Vanilla Java. They do serve food there too.
The food's really good.
It's very, very good. I think they had the pretzel sticks there, and they're awesome.
Well, that's the one thing about breweries too, is brewery food's usually on point no matter where you go. Especially like if you go to Falling Down or if you go to Dragon Mead now, because Dragon Mead's got Lazy Bones. Kuhnhenn's got all the food trucks that show up every once in a while. But you mentioned Motor City Brew Works. You used to live Midtown.
I did. I was there for about 3 years, and that was within walking distance of where I lived.
So obviously you like it over Traffic Jam?
Funny story. I've never been to Traffic Jam ever. I lived there for over 3 years, and I've never been to Traffic Jam.
Why would you go there when you can go to Honest John's? You
Well,
get a 40.
Honest John's, you get a 40, or go to Old Miami.
Yeah,
Yep.
why would I go anywhere else? I mean, that's perfect.
Well, that's the thing, too, and especially even before this whole Midtown renaissance that's happened, the amount of bars and good bars that you could go to over in that Midtown area is really good. So Traffic Jam and Snug's pretty good. Their food is not... I mean, I don't consider it brewery food because I think they more consider themselves as a restaurant than a brewery.
Yep.
Have you been to Jolly Pumpkin down there yet?
I have not gone to Jolly Pumpkin yet. No.
So Jolly Pumpkin, pretty much the same thing as every Jolly Pumpkin, the Traverse City one. You've been to the Traverse City one, haven't you?
No, I actually didn't even go there. When I was up in Traverse City, I went to Right Brain, North Peak, which was awesome. North Peak is an awesome stop to go to. Me and my girlfriend, we actually had dinner there, and it was awesome, the whole experience. They had some stuff that they don't normally sell down here, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Jolly Pumpkin's definitely got a lot of off-the-wall beers in sense to where, you're not going to get your really standard IPAs from there. You're going to get a lot of sours. You're going to get a lot of porters, browns, those kinds of beers. They're winter beers. With that in mind, though, you mentioned your trip up to Right Brain. Did you not like any of those breweries over Motor City Brew Works, or are you just picking it because you're a Detroiter?
I was picking it because I'm a Detroiter.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we had your prerequisites in regards to your favorite beers and breweries. So Dan, you're sitting over there. Favorite beers, favorite breweries, bars.
Anything that comes in a 40, the malt liquor. It's funny.
King Cobra.
I'm not. Yeah, well, there you go. I'm not joking, but it's realistically that's what I drank for so long, and I don't even realize even know why at this point.
Are you a fan of OE?
The Old English, if I'm gonna make a brass monkey, maybe, but I usually don't bust out the brass monkey too often. Especially being closer to 40 than I am to 30. I really don't go down that road anymore. Favorite brewery, definitely at this moment, is Black Lotus.
Black Lotus has definitely turned a lot of heads as a past year or two. From what I've been told, obviously my knowledge is second, third, and fourth hand. But they got a brand new brewmaster. And the brand new brewmaster brought out a lot of beers. And I remember when I went to one of the beer festivals, Black Lotus was doing a lot of infused beers. So they were taking infused beers, putting them inside, taking a lot of beers, putting them inside an infuser, and then obviously giving them out. And definitely a lot of different flavors, a lot of different tastes. The Black Lotus from, say, 5 years ago is a lot different than the Black Lotus now.
Well, yeah, their Detroit hip hops is still good. They had a ghost pepper porter, I believe. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my hand, which was delicious.
I can't do spicy food, and I can't do spicy beer. Like the Mayan Mocha Madness was even too much for me.
Too much for you?
Yeah, so just imagine doing like a ghost pepper beer. It's not going to...
Speaking of spicy, I was at Cider Days back in the summer, and one of the independent breweries, it wasn't like, I think it was just, an upstart, brewery group or company. They did one that was infused with sriracha sauce.
Ooh, I would drink it.
It was a cider, but infused with sriracha, which was crazy.
So a cider infused with sriracha, I just couldn't even do it. I couldn't even, like,
you gotta like spicy things.
My favorite beer is the one in front of me, but the fact of the matter is that there are some beers like pepper beers I just can't try. Like barrel aged, I can get past the bitter, or not the bitter face, but the bourbon face.
The bourbon face,
yeah.
But in regards to like spicy, I just can never do spicy foods. And the fact of the matter, I'm married to someone who loves stuffed peppers and pepper this and hot sauce on everything.
That's
hot sauce on my eggs, hot sauce on my ramen. It's just I'm like there's not that much that I can do about it, but she'll make me foods because I'm a 6-year-old. It's like trying to get me away from eating chicken nuggets or something like that. It's like pulling strings. Mind you, I still eat different foods like steaks, and it's not like I just eat pizza and cheese bread, unlike some of our friends that we have. So right now, for me, in regards to you were mentioning favorite beers. Do you have a favorite brewery?
Black Lotus.
Black Lotus, there you go.
Which
yeah.
has got that whole conversation going. I do like Shorts Brewery. I don't know if you've ever made it. Actually,
I have
there.
not yet up to Bel Air.
It's such a small town, and so many people go there specifically for that. It's amazing. Especially it's kind of hard to get to, especially in the wintertime.
Well, yeah, it's not the easiest place because there's no direct freeway to it. So it's,
It's a little bit off the freeway, really far north where it snows a lot. I do like that. I like a lot of the stuff they make there. If it's closer, it'd probably be my favorite. A lot of good things there, like their PB&J Stout. Amazing if you ever had it. Really good. But
do they bottle that?
I believe that they used to. I don't know if they still do, but it's basically the Soft Parade and the Uber Goober mixed together.
That makes sense.
Is what it is. So really good beer, get you messed up, kind of like what we're drinking here.
Yeah, we are drinking something, thanks to our very first sponsor, 3 Nicks Scoreboard. We're actually drinking a barrel-aged Black Butte 27th Anniversary Edition. For someone like me who doesn't like barrel-aged beers, this is actually not too bad at all. It's very smooth. You don't have that really big barrel, like bourbon kickback that you see with a lot of barrel-aged beers. Very smooth, very relaxed. I'm enjoying it because I'm almost out of it.
I know.
Or are you just trying to get to the next beer?
There's a difference between drinking to drink and drinking. Because for me, I've never poured out a beer that I didn't like, and that's including Devil Dancer. Which, if you would have heard, mind you, this is like I had an alpha podcast in regards to Better on Draft with our friend Brown. And we recorded about 7-8 shows before we started this professional studio. Sadly, he couldn't be a host because he works Friday nights. But the fact of the matter is that I actually had Devil Dancer from Founders, and it took me almost like an hour and a half just to finish it, just because, one, I'm not going to pour down that kind of a beer because it's expensive as all hell and I don't want to waste it. But the fact of the matter is that it was just so bad to me. It was so bitter, and I hate bitterness. Like, there are some people who love the more hops, the better. More. And it's not the fact that there's so many hops like Hop Slam, which has that honey to mellow it. It was just so kick you in the face bad. And even, I have friends over at the North Center Brewing, and they were just talking about, they had a bottle too, and they thought they had a bad batch or something like that just because it was that much. But a triple IPA is going to do that. So, we really appreciate 3 Nicks for hooking us up. We're going to be talking about a little bit in regards to what they have going on upcoming week. Each and every Friday, they have a barrel-aged tap that they do.
Every week?
Every week. It's different, too.
Wow.
Okay.
So
That's impressive.
The past 4 weeks, last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, was Barrel-Aged Arrogant Bastard.
See, I would love that. I wish I would have been there. If I would have known that 2 weeks ago, I would have drank the whole thing. That's the problem.
So it's definitely interesting to see the amount of beers that they tap. They always have a good list of beers and a good different amount of things to drink. That's 3 Nicks Scoreboard, not to be confused with the other 2 3 Nicks. But with that in mind, a little bit about me. Some of my favorite beers, as Dan and Nick can attest to, I love brown ales. Yep. So really anything brown, I will try. Old Town Brown out of the Chicago Brewery in Vegas.
Definitely. That's my weakness. That's my weakness. I wish there was a way to get that here.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite beers. They don't, to my knowledge, they don't bottle it, so there's no way to get it. Because I did do a beer trade with some guy in Vegas where I sent him out a bunch of Bee Nectar. And he's like, hey, is there anything you want? And I'm like, get me this. No way to really do it. So I was just like, whatever. But, for the most part, brown ales are something that I like. I do like a lot of chocolate stouts, porters, those kinds of things. For me, my favorite brewery has got to be Dragon Mead. And I think because of that is they have so many choices. Food's always on point. Service, usually good. The only thing I really don't like about Dragon Mead is the fact that they don't split checks.
Yeah,
And that's always pulling hairs when there's a group of 4.
It's been a while since I've been there. Do they serve food now? Or
They have Lazy Bones Barbecue there.
It's not just the random, or you don't order pizza and have them deliver it there.
Yeah, there's no random food that you can bring in, or the cheese plates or the meat plates or the sausage plate. It's all like I had a brisket chili there, which was delicious.
Ooh, really?
That sounds good.
That's good to know. So you like their London Brown?
The London Brown there. Eric the Red, I like there.
Amazing.
Killer Bee.
Final Absolution.
Juggernaut.
Bishop Bob's, Holy Smoke.
Oh, yeah. There's so many great beers. And I think it's kind of fell to the wayside because they've been there for so long and they're not new. They're not hip. They're not the next thing. They're not, there's so many breweries. It almost seems like there's a new brewery that opens every week.
Well, think about it. Drankenbean's been there before all of these others that have been popping up, before Rogue, before all these ones downtown that have opened up lately. They've been there that whole time, so it's kind of like the old thing that just happens to be there.
And, it's funny that we talk about all these new breweries coming out. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but the Detroit Cranes Weekly, they actually had an article on there a couple weeks ago about how the market in, southeastern Michigan is getting flooded with all these breweries now. I mean, we just had another one just open up just a few weeks ago. I think it was it's Brooks Brewing over in
that's over in Shelby.
Over in Shelby, yeah, and they just opened up just a few weeks ago, and I was out there.
Well, what's so crazy is we're waiting to see where the bubble is. Where is that craft beer bubble? When is it going to pop? And you think, you open up so many breweries sooner or later, but you look at these breweries and they're always filled. They're always filled with new people. You look at new craft beer stores like 8 Degrees in Detroit. Dan and I went there.
Right there, within the first couple of days.
First couple of days, and it's packed with people sitting at the bar. It's packed with people buying beer, and it's in the middle of nowhere, Midtown.
It's in a bad spot.
That kind of opened out of nowhere too. I didn't even know that they opened until the day of.
Well,
someone said something.
They signed a lease a year before that. They were building that out. I don't know what they were doing or what took so long. I didn't ask him.
It's probably one because it's probably in a building that they needed to do a lot of renovation to get upkeep to be able to be inspected and be able to work, as well as probably some type of licensing. Because obviously, while beer and wine sales, there's no limit to the amount of licenses each city can have, it's still, it still could potentially be a pain in the ass to get a license in Detroit, especially with so many licenses and the population dropping down, that the MLCC could just be like, we don't foresee you being able to do it with the population cut in half.
Well, they actually did announce that the population in Detroit did go up just this last year, which is kind of crazy. It wasn't a significant increase, but it just that's what happens when you have had financial turmoil for however many years.
Well, sooner or later it was going just as we're looking for the bubble in regards to the beer, it's going to bottom out and. For the Detroit area, and some of the big things with all the stores that are coming into the downtown area. Nike and Under Armour just signed contracts stating that they're going to come downtown with, and that includes jobs. That includes, Nike does a lot of community service as much as, they pay for child labor in other places. They still do. They still do community service in the area, which is a lot of things that, a lot of Detroit places are looking for, especially Quicken Loans. I know Quicken does a lot of, charity work for the areas, whether it's blight removal, cleanup. But between, the amount of investments that Dan Gilbert's put in, the $20 million that Chase gave Detroit, and, giving it to this much goes to blight removal, this much goes to this much goes, there are so many rules and restrictions so that there couldn't be anything. But the fact of the matter is that, as you were saying, sooner or later it's going to bottom out. And for me, I moved to Detroit last year. And if you look at our apartment complex, it's slowly filling. And if it's not a major apartment like a Village Green or the Riverside Apartments or anything like that, all those are filled. Nearly all the lofts are filled. It's hard to get housing down in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think the Whitney went on sale for apartments and they sold out on the first day.
I believe it.
And that's, mind you, getting credit checks, getting, payroll checks, all these kinds of things. It's hard to really imagine that there's so many people that want to move downtown, but because there's so much downtown and the whole story, there's no grocery stores. There's plenty of grocery stores downtown. Whoever says that they say it because there's no Meijer, there's no Kroger,
there's no big name is what you're talking about.
It's Spartan Foods. You got the Whole Foods over in Midtown, and they're looking to open up the second one. That Whole Foods, as tiny as it is the second best selling Whole Foods in the state, next to Ann Arbor.
I believe it.
Yeah
because it's a good place to shop. It really is, overpriced or not.
Well, it's not even as overpriced as a lot of people think. Mind you, I have done a lot of shopping there because my wife used to work there. But looking at the prices and stuff, you're talking pennies.
Oh, yeah.
For a lot of the things.
Yeah, even a high-end store like I go to Western Market right down here, 9 Mile all the time. The difference price-wise between them and Ferndale Foods across the street, it is pennies. So,
I mean, especially if you're, if you really want a Meijer, you're gonna have to drive basically all the way to Ayton.
You have to drive to here,
Ayton Woodward, right
where
down the
we're
street
at.
from where we're
literally.
at, just to get that kind of food from where you can just go right down the road and get it.
Yeah. That Meijer though, they don't give out flares, which is key because you can get lost in that place. and if they close, you're just gonna die. Well,
That
I mean, you have
Meyer-
so much food.
But it's like the only
Meyer
Meyer
is
that
so-
closes. Can you show me another one that locks up at night?
It was so weird because Dana and I were looking. I think we were looking to get just some type of we're like, oh yeah, there's a Meyer up there. We might as well just go up to the Meyer. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's closed. How the hell did this close? And it was like maybe 8 or 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, and we're like, oh, I guess we're going to Kroger over at 9 and John R.
Yeah. That's the one weird thing about that. And they only have the one entrance. Most Meyers have the two.
Yeah.
One side for the food, and they'll close like the one that has the clothing and everything. But this one has the one.
Yeah, that happens for most like double large stores, like a not a
Well,
Target.
they close half of it. Yeah,
like a
the
Walmart
Kmart
or a
used to do
yeah,
that. Yeah,
the
before
Kmart
they
over
went
at
away.
12 and John R.
Yeah, when it used to be open.
That's still open?
No,
About to say.
About a year ago, it closed.
I haven't been out that way in a
I was gonna
while.
say, it hasn't closed that long ago, but yeah, it did close. I remember driving home from On the Rocks one day, and I think I was living in Clinton Township, and I remember driving down John R. and I'm like, oh, it's closed, because I used to work in that back in like 2006, 2007. Back
You
when I
worked
was
there?
at Flagstar.
Oh, okay.
Back when I worked at the bank.
I was going to say, because it was about a year ago. Actually, they announced their closing right around Thanksgiving last year because me and my youngest went in there while the oldest one was in school. I forget what we went in there for, but we bought a bunch of stuff like 20% off. It was like, oh, hey, they're closing. Now it's just a big empty building.
You got to remember, because 2006 is when you went to WrestleMania, and that's where I asked you to pick me up. To take me to WrestleMania.
Here comes that story again.
And you
this is
didn't
always
take
one of my
me
favorite stories.
to WrestleMania.
Yeah, well,
So
I stupidly got drunk in it.
Stupidly got you. You did it on purpose.
No, I did not do it on purpose.
You're saying that like it was an accident. I got drunk on accident. No, you were drinking beer and then you got drunk. That's what happened.
Well, and I was drinking King Cobra too, so
It's too bad
even
you-
better.
Well, you mentioned the King Cobra. You've told me that you had a King Cobra not too long ago. This might have been maybe a year and a half ago. You were telling me about this, and this is after the whole craft beer boom. What do you think of King Cobra now compared to back when you were drinking 40s at the parking lot by City Club?
I'll still drink it. In fact, the last time I had King Cobra, I drank this. Honest to God, truth. At Nick's frat house, I drank 4 of them. About a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago.
I think it's been a lot more than because I haven't lived in that house in
that's the
at
last
least
time I
2
had
years.
one.
Yeah, that was the last time that I went. So you had to have gone before that. Was Halloween 3 years ago.
Well, that was probably when it was, and I drank like 4 of them. That's.
I remember when we went there one day and we were looking at everything and we were just like, yeah, let's go to Greektown. After a while of drinking 4 Locos there, because that's what I would drink, it was just definitely a little bit of
You talk about when you went to the frat party?
Oh, yeah, but back
Oh,
in the
yeah.
frat
I was in my
party.
mid-30s at a frat party drinking King Cobra. Let's think about that
How do you
for a second.
how do you think I felt? I was almost in my late 20s
Oh, okay,
and still
okay.
going to these
Again, I'm like 35
darn parties.
drinking King
Remember,
Cobra
he
at a
was
frat.
pledging the frat in his late 20s.
I was 25. Give me a break.
That's like your late 20s.
Hey, you can't complain.
Hey, doing that's paid in spades in my career. Man.
Oh, I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking it all. It's just like, oh. But,
It is funny. I will admit that.
It's like, oh no, you know what? Actually, I take that back. We went to a birthday party at the reopened Sigma Pi House for Wayne State, where I used to drink King Cobra back when I was like 21. That's what it was.
Was that the 1960s?
No, this was like, I think I might have invited you. I don't remember, but Becca was there and like Tiffany and all those people were there.
Oh.
And I'm drinking King Cobra at the Sigma Pi House. That's what happened.
Did I tell you I ran into her not too long ago?
Tiffany?
At the Mead Fest over at B Nectar.
I'm sorry
really?
about that.
It was just the weirdest thing. I'm like, oh, hi. And
Oh, hi.
like, I've never had a full conversation with her.
Well,
so
you
I'm just
can't.
like,
It's not possible, so good
like,
luck.
all right. Well,
It's a good thing she's not listening.
Good to see you. And then
She might be.
your dog was there, Bob. Bob was there.
Oh, and I'm like, why was my dog there?
Oh my gosh.
It's just one of those things to where, I just showed up and there she was, because I think Dana was working that day. And I'm like, I got nothing to do. I'll go to a mead party.
I'll just go drink in the afternoon.
And we're definitely going to talk about, beer release parties and beer stuff after our first break. But I want to kind of go over around the room. We talk about Three Nicks and how much they've done for us in regards to sponsoring us, and I truly appreciate it. I have been to Three Nicks before we even got them as a sponsor, even though they're down in Allen Park, which is a little bit downriver for all of us.
All of us. I've
but-
been there, though.
Well, yeah, we were talking about going there after the ROH show.
Is that where we were talking about going to? Or they have one in Dearborn.
Dearborn.
Yeah, and then we just went to Buffalo Wild Wings afterwards because it was just a lot easier.
The Allen Park one I've been to, I used to hang out with someone down there years and at least 8 years ago.
Well, the Allen Park one, I mean, I've been there twice in the past week, so it's definitely a lot different in regards to the fact that they're still staying true to like their blue collar roots. They still have really cheap beer prices, cheap bottles, cheap pints. But they're definitely going over all of the different craft beer enthusiasts. So, they've had No Rules, which is from Parent, I believe. They've had a lot of different beers come in. But, Dan, where do you drink? Like, what is your spot? Like
if I'm going out?
Yeah, like not like going out extravagant. Like, what's your watering hole?
Well, if I get to name a watering hole, where I was earlier, is the one normal bar I go to on a routine basis would be Madison Club.
Yeah,
only because it's after work on a Friday. I mean, not too many places I can drink $1.75 pint. Of beer. No joke, not too many places
of lines that haven't been cleaned in forever.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'll go to Orchid on a Friday because it's $2 drinks. That's a given.
Yeah.
My other spot would probably be Smalls in Detroit, not because of the beer selection, because I like the crowd there. I mean,
and they always have shows every week.
Yeah, and I fit in there better. Like you're like, oh, who pick the guy that goes to Smalls? Everyone point at me. So
what about
it's kind of
Nick?
a given.
Either it's going to be Plush Pocket over on Warren.
We haven't been to Plush Pocket in a long time.
That place is still around.
Well, it was called
Blackjack anymore. It was Ultimate Sports.
It was called
Bar.
Ultimate. Well, it was Plush Pocket,
that.
and then it was Ultimate, and then it closed, and it would turn back to Plush Pocket.
How many times did we gamble there?
So
playing
much.
blackjack.
Quite a bit. Yeah,
so much. It was
they had
like
the charity
$2
poker
blackjack.
there.
Yeah, I miss those days.
Generally, if I do go out, it's going to be there. They got a pretty nice beer choice, not only just on tap, but also on bottle as well. They got a really nice selection of microbrew and.
I remember them having Eric the Red there.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, we were drinking Eric the Red on draft the last time we were there.
They have Bell's Two Hearted. They pretty much have a lot of the normal, typical selection. If you go to like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that, they'll have all those, and the prices are always pretty good in my opinion.
That's always the key when trying to pick like a bar is the fact that when you're going there and you're going there consistently, the fact of the matter is you don't want to go there and break the bank.
Yeah.
When we're talking about bars and beer places that we go, like Augie's has to be mine, obviously, because
that was my favorite.
I've been going to Augie's for many, many years. We won't say how many years, but the fact of the matter is we've been going to Augie's for so long. It's just one of those things, $3 Thursdays, the video DJ on Sundays. Our boy Benny who does that. But it's one of those, they've always had like one or two off the wall beers, like your Guinness, which I would consider off the wall in comparison to the fact that they have Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller
a lot
Lite.
of the domestics.
Yeah, it's pretty much all domestic beer. So you're definitely going to be able to get something. But that was definitely my first watering hole. And then On the Rocks.
On the Rocks is another one. I was hanging out there before you guys found it.
The thing
Nick was
is
trying to expand his whole thing.
But before like a while ago, On the Rocks was not as craft beer heavy as they are now.
Now they really
I remember
are.
when he was asking me, trying to figure out what craft beers, because he had your standard craft. He had your Bud Light, your Miller Light, your Coors Light, your Budweiser.
But it was also the
standards,
the Oberon, the Two Hearted, the stuff that you can get everywhere.
Oh, see, I was there before he was doing that. That's when he started finally bringing that stuff in. Now, he did a really good job at bringing all that stuff in. I give him a lot of credit for that.
And it's fairly priced, too. I mean, it's $4 to $5 per bottle, which is what you're going to find, nearly at every single craft bar out there.
If you can get North Peak Diabolical in a bucket, that's
for a bucket of beer.
A bucket of Diabolical for reasonably priced. I'm going to go there over anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back with a Better on Draft podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second segment of the Better on Draft podcast. Once again, my name is Ken. Sitting with me is Nick and Dan. We have cracked open some beers. I have we all actually have some Kuhnhenn Cherry Old Bruin. as well as I have a Gumball Head for 3 Floyds, which I'll be finishing after the Kuhnhenn.
After your
Yes, after the beer.
because the beer we've been drinking so far is over 10% on average. So so we're gonna move on to beer number 3 after that. I mean, I don't even know.
Well, what's the point of hosting a beer podcast without drinking beer?
Yeah, I mean, without getting just excessively drunk. I mean, we might as well just drink Steel Reserve or some 151.
The 151. This is better on draft, not better on the floor. So I'm drinking Gumball Head from 3 Floyds. Nick, what's your secondary beer?
I got just regular Yuengling Lager. Just
Lager?
Like
Yarmer
Yager.
Yeah, like Yarmer.
Yeah, Yarmer Lager. Yuengling Lager.
See, and Ken, you can appreciate this. I have the black and tan.
Yeah, you took my black and tan that I brought.
I'm 99% sure it's mine from a year ago because I'm thinking you didn't.
I'm like 67% sure you're not, but I don't care.
Now we're just throwing out random stats. I'm like 82.5% sure.
It's only like a 30-minute drive for me to Toledo if I really want to go get Yuengling. So nonetheless, we're talking about beers. We're talking about, Yuengling. We're talking about all different things. Beer hype. The fact that beer releases come. So this topic spawns from the fact that this past Saturday, while we were prepping for this show, I posted a picture of myself at Kuhnhenn in a line for the Cherry Old Bruin. And the fact of the matter is I was there. There's people there drinking, bottle sharing. So people were sharing different bottles, tasting different things. But definitely one of the people on this podcast, we won't say Dan's name. Was talking about, how crazy it is. And, I kind of agree for the fact that you look at some places like Hopcat, when Hopcat opened in Detroit, and there was a line where the first 100 people got crack fries for a free year. And those 100 people were in line 24 hours before they opened. And that was in freezing weather, too. It wasn't even nice weather. So we're looking at beer hype and stuff like that. So we're drinking Kuhnhenn's Old Bruin. Dan, you've already had some. What do you think of it?
This is a good beer. It's a cherry-flavored brown. I don't even taste anything that would remind me of a brown. The cherry is pretty overpowering, at least in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about this. My whole thing of the beer hype is all these beers, especially, like the KBS, what everyone freaks out for. And you know this, I went to, just to give a little anecdotal story, I went to 8 Degrees back when is KBS week? Earlier, it's April or whatever.
Yeah, it's earlier in the year.
Whenever it comes out. I knew he was giving it out, so I intentionally waited, thinking the line would be down, just so I could go get some regular beer, because it was I had the next day off. I'm I want some beer. There are still over 50 people in line to buy their 2 bottles of beer. Now, we were talking about this either before or during one of the breaks. I don't remember, but there are beers out there that taste almost identical to that goddamn KBS, and I don't have to wait in line and spend $10 a bottle for. The Dragon's Milk, the barrel age, very similar, and I don't have to wait one time a year. I don't have to go get in line. I don't have to drive to Grand Rapids. It's overhyped. It's out of control. It's artificial. People are doing that just to try and get more money out of a single $10 bottle of beer. What was this? This was 8, you said?
That was 8.
The one we're drinking. Okay, $8 bottle of beer. I'm pretty sure. This is pretty unique. I will give it that, but it doesn't taste like a brown. It tastes like a lot of cherry.
You can definitely taste the cherries.
There's a lot of cherry in this. There's got to be something similar we could find that's like that. I think it's a little bit overblown.
This is definitely not a brown.
So Nick, what do you think of the beer?
It's pretty good. I like it. I agree with Dan. It's not a brown ale by any means. What'd you say? Cherry wheat?
Cherry? I was thinking that. I didn't say it, but
it's nothing.
No, I was about to say it. Maybe
I missed
grenadine, but I didn't say. Yeah, I never said cherry.
I thought I heard it.
It did cross my mind.
Grenadine in Newcastle.
Yeah.
We'll try that. Maybe we'll try that next week.
Do that next week.
I think I might have some grenadine at my apartment.
With respect to the beer hype, I agree with Dan because I actually have a similar story. Before we, Ken, you and I, we did our yearly pilgrimage to Caseville early this summer. Atwater in the Park did a limited edition of 1936. Mm-hmm. They did, and it was supposed to be an amber ale. We were thinking it was, I was thinking it was going to be pretty good, and Ken's shaking his head right now.
No, not good.
It was not good. I
so
mean,
you waited in line
was,
for garbage?
Well, luckily it was regular during regular business hours.
Oh,
but
yeah. I mean, but
the problem is that regular business hours on a Thursday night when everyone and their mothers is there drinking, so the place was packed. So.
Yeah. There's two different types of hypes. Obviously, there's going to be the waiting where you have like Dark Lord Days up in 3 Floyds. You have 4 Elf Day up in Dark Horse. But there's the hype, and then there's the price, and the price that you pay for a beer, and the price that some people will jack up in regards to the fact that they have KBS, they have Hop Slam, they have X, Y, and Z. I went to the Public House over in Ferndale, and I had CBS for the first time.
Was that a new keg? I thought they weren't making CBS anymore.
I believe it was this year. Obviously, it was a Founders Takeover tap, but they didn't promote that tap for the takeover, so they're just like, we'll tap it the day before the takeover.
The whole thing with it's Canadian breakfast stout.
Yeah,
the maple syrup causes an issue.
For me, it really leveled out that bourbon.
Well, it does, but no, the whole issue with them, they didn't like making it because the maple syrup makes an issue with the whole like barreling or whatever they have to do, cause an issue gumming it up. That's why they kind of laid off of making it. That was the whole story behind that.
The thing is, I couldn't tell you. They just saw it on. I saw it on Facebook. I'm like, you know what? I'll go try it. And I spent like $9 or $10 on a 5-ounce pour.
On a $9 or $10 on 5 ounces of beer. I mean,
it's one of those things to where and it's definitely something that we'll talk about at another show. We'll talk about promoting ABV versus price and talking about it. But if you look at just for this realm of the conversation. You look at the Ode Bruin and you look at the beer. This is 3 beers basically in one bottle of beer with the amount of alcohol that's in there. So really at $8 a bottle, what's different than spending it on 3 bottles other than the quantity?
Now, I'm reading this bottle. Do you know why they only release it every couple of years? Does it have to age a certain amount of time? Because there's no indication on here.
I do not. But that's definitely something we could potentially attempt to reach out to the Kuhnhenn brewer, or when Eric comes for segment number 2, we could ask him.
We should ask him because seriously, it's good. This is something I would honestly drink, but they release it like every 3 years. Why do I have to wait 3 years and pay $8 a bottle?
Well, and
it's
that's
creating hype. You're like, now I have to wait 3 years. They're like, now I'm gonna write the check. And I here come with a $100 bill to buy like 12 bottles.
Short term gain.
It was over $100 for not even a case.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like 10 bottles would be a $100 bill, or 12 bottles would be about a $100 bill. So
yeah.
It's definitely something different now. I had it usually when Kuhnhenn has their release parties and stuff like that. They always tap that keg, so they'll always have a keg of that on draft. And I had it on draft, and as much as we're in episode 1 of the Better on Draft podcast, the bottle's much better.
Really? Wow, I'm actually surprised. I've always kind of gravitate towards the draft, so
so do I. But the thing is that I see myself drinking beer, and I see myself drinking this beer faster than I was drinking a draft, which is in an open container, so it's a lot quicker to drink it in the first place.
Is there like a notable difference between the bottle that we have in front of us and the draft?
It's a lot smoother. The cherries are not as tart, I guess could be a proper term for the fact that 1, I'm not a sommelier, 2, I'm not a
connoisseur.
CBS, I'm not a Cicerone, I'm not anything of that sort. But the fact of the matter is that I drink it and I just want to drink more and more and more. And when you look at ratings, and we'll kind of go over in this topic how we kind of rate beers. But the redrinkability is the fact that I want to drink more and more and more and more and more, as opposed to some beers like KBS, some beers where it's like I just want to have 1 and I'm done.
Yeah, you can't drink more than 1 KBS, for example. It overpowers you.
Well, you can. It's just a bad idea.
You can, I guess maybe if you like that overpowering the bourbon taste, or it's not a session beer. You're not going to pound a 6-pack or a 4-pack of KBS and be like, look at me.
It's so funny, and I'm going to interrupt you just because somebody had a quote, and it says every beer is a session beer if you try hard enough.
No, I absolutely believe that. But, believe me.
So yeah, I know
what you're talking about.
It's just hysterical because you look at some of the beers and some of the beers that I drink and some of the beers that I try, and here I'm not swishing it in my mouth or I'm not I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm going to it's that caveman feeling. This good, me drink more.
Oh God, no! One time I was at Black Lotus. We talked about them earlier, where I drank like 8 Detroit hip hops, and that's damn near 10%.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here I go. Like, thank God I didn't drive.
You call an Uber on your phone.
Oh no, Becca drove. It was like, oh, here I go. I'm like, I'm having a good time.
So we're talking about the hype and we're talking about beer hype. And again, there's price hype and there's line hype. And the line that I went to wasn't that long. I've been in longer lines for beer. When Summer Solstice comes out for Kuhnhenn, that's a longer line. But, is there a beer that you guys seek out no matter what when it comes around, whether it's either a beer that's not local or a beer that's, comes once a year? Nick?
No, there really isn't. I don't just gravitate towards one thing the moment I hear about it. It's just, if I hear about it, that's awesome. If not, like the 1930, we'll go back to the 1936, for example, for that Atwater made. I just heard about it, and next thing I know, I'm like, I got to try that, It's just, I personally just don't gravitate towards one thing. So like Hop Slam, for example. They come out, once a year. Once a year, and those are hard to get, to my understanding. Am I right? Yeah. So I'm not going to go crazy over, something that's going to come out once a year. If it's there and I can get it, awesome. If not, I'm not going to be heartbroken over it. So then what is your beer that, like, if you go to a store and you're looking for X, Y, and Z, but this beer shows up, you will go to that beer and you'll buy that beer instead. I'm going to go back to one of my favorite breweries, and that's Atwater, and that's Vanilla Java.
Good. I had one last night. Yep.
If I see something, I'm just turned off by anything that they have. It could be a regular party store, beer store, anything like that. And if I don't see something that's going to grab my attention, but it has Vanilla Java there, I'm going to gravitate towards that. In a heartbeat.
That's a good choice. That's a really good beer.
So you're looking at Vanilla Java, and we'll get to Dan in a second, but Vanilla Java, you've obviously had it on draft, and you've also had it on in a bottle. Do you have a preference? Do you have a...
I obviously draft. I mean, obviously just because the show is called Better on Draft. But
I've already ruined that.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to ruin it even more now, Ken. I'm going to ruin it even more. But no, it's so much more smoother. It's so much more better when you get it at the actual place where they brew it. There's just no words to describe, freshly brewed beer that's sitting in the cask at the place that they brew it at. It just doesn't get any better than that.
So Dan, other than Old Town Brown, because that's definitely one of our
I wasn't going there. You brought it up. I wasn't going to mention it.
Again, Old Town Brown, for those of you who don't know, is from the Chicago Brewery over in the Four Queens in downtown Vegas. Definitely one of our favorite beers that we drink when we're in Vegas. But, for you, so we'll start off at the beginning. Is there a beer release or a non-local beer that you will gravitate to the second that you hear, hey, if I text you and say, hey, I can get this, or, hey, this is out, do you want it?
There aren't many. The only thing I can think of, and because I'm totally against the whole release thing, I
think we found that out
all the time.
Well, yeah. Short's key lime pie is really good on draft.
Ooh,
I will
gravitate.
Have you had it?
I have, and I do not like
the
key lime pie, and I don't like the Short's cake.
The key lime pie, because it comes out right around this time, is really good. But I won't run for it. You can shake your head. I mean, it's all right to have different. It's all right to have different tastes. It's all right. It really is.
That's the thing is that I don't like key lime pie. Nick doesn't like key lime pie, but you do, and that's all that matters as long as you're enjoying the beer.
And I'm not going to chase it down. But when you can go to Shorts and get a growler of that, it's really good. Believe me.
So you like the key lime pie. What about something that you would more? So the key lime pie is a very, very. This happens at this one time of the year. What about you go to a beer store, you go to a bar or something like that? What's that one beer you're going to gravitate to?
Like if I see a beer and I walk in and I need to have that. Man, you're putting me on the spot there.
Well, that's the whole point.
There isn't a specific beer that I mean, I need to. If I'm out, if I'm at Orchid or I'm at a bar, if I see the beer, I might do Two Hearted if I can grab it, if they have it there.
That's a good point, yeah.
Sierra Nevada will be my go-to. If I have to pick a beer, like, I have to choose out of the cooler full of yellow beer and everything, Sierra Nevada is going to be the one I grab.
Just their standard.
Their standard, yeah. The normal one, not anything. I don't need Southern Hemisphere or anything like that.
Torpedo.
Yeah, oh no, I have good stories about Torpedo. When I didn't realize Torpedo was stronger than the other one, I just thought it meant the taller cans. Is all I thought that meant. And I'm like, why am I drunk?
Oh, that's why you were drunk.
Yeah. There is nothing specific I'll gravitate to. It's whatever I feel like tasting or drinking that night. It might be a PBR in a can. Hey, PBR.
Hey, I'm not knocking PBR, man. Sometimes
it's just personal
sometimes
experience.
we have bad nights. In a PBR, it's just one of those things that can just
might
get you in
be
a better
Newcastle. It might be. I might decide to drink liquor that night.
Well, there's a lot of time now, mind you. For as long as I've known you, it's a rarity when I see that you're drinking liquor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
usually
It is.
always beer.
Yeah.
But in regards to Newcastle, and that's what I was hoping you would kind of pick that out, because me and you have always, that was always our beer of choice. Newcastle, in a mini keg, Newcastle 6-pack.
I forgot about the mini kegs.
That
Lord.
sounds kinda good
That
right
used to be
now.
a weekend for me. I would grab the mini keg because you can get like 10 pints out of the damn thing.
Yeah, we would drink a lot out of the mini kegs because we used to always watch like the wrestling pay-per-views over
Get the
at your
keg.
place.
I would get the keg and
Exactly. So it's one of those things to where Newcastle is always going to be one of those brown ales. You know, for me, I love my brown ales. It's always going to be one of those things for me. So in regards to the beers that I like, the beers that I gravitate to, it's really, really there's not too many seasonal beers that I always have to have. You have Holy Moses from Great Lakes Brewery.
good choice.
And you're going to have Hop Slam. I love Hop Slam.
Slam is good.
And one of those things, and a lot of people talk about Hop Slam, and I had a Hop Slam fresh, and I had a Hop Slam aged 1 year. And the difference that Hop Slam changes over that 1 year, where it basically changes into a honey barley wine, is so good.
Really?
And I don't think we had it at one of my, I believe it was the Royal Rumble party this year.
Maybe, yeah.
So we had it there, and it was on point. But I like IPAs that aren't kick you in the face. So 120 is definitely something I'll have because it doesn't really kill you. In regards to the bitterness.
Yeah.
You know, the IBU might be high, but the bitterness of 120 is like physical mouthfeel.
The 90 and the 120, it's like smooth. It's like drinking water. Almost.
Well, have you had
It's
IBA?
No, I haven't.
So their Indian brown ale is definitely something that it's just.
Now I want it. Indian
really-
brown ale. Now I want it.
Yeah, it's got that different feeling. It's got something that you really just can't put your finger on the fact of, oh, this tastes like this, or oh, this tastes like this. You know, the IBA definitely has its own brand, for lack of better words. But when you look at browns, like the brown note, I just had brown note not too long ago, and that was just on point. But you look at Michigan browns for me, and beers that I will seek out. If B Nectar's Coffee Brown is out, I will have B Nectar's Coffee Brown.
Ooh, that
if
sounds
Short's
pretty good, too.
Bel Air Brown is out, I will have Short's Bel Air Brown.
That's a good brown.
I just had that on my birthday. Bel Air Brown.
Speaking of Shorts, and you know, this is one thing, the Controversy Ale.
I don't think I've had that one.
I think Ken, you introduced me to that. You gave me a bottle of that. That's really good.
If the Controversy Ale, if I see the bottle of it, it's a pretty easy bottle to look at because it basically looks like a newspaper.
Yeah, I know exactly what it looks like. I've never had it.
But the Controversy Ale is something that's always on point. But the third brown, that top three in regards to the area, has definitely got to be North Center Brewing.
Okay.
And, you know, we're going to have these guys on next week. Hopefully we'll try to swing them to bring some beer to us.
Let's cross our fingers here.
I'm crossing I want free beer right now. That's all that matters.
Who doesn't want free beer?
Nobody.
But North Center Brewing, you know, their brown ale is just on point, and they actually had a beer that caught so much, like it was called their Nilla, the Nilla Porter. It was a vanilla porter,
Like
Nilla
Nilla wafers.
Yeah, something like that. But the thing is that the way it was written on the board, it looks like Ninja. So many
Ninja
people
Porter.
called it the Ninja Porter.
That's
Ninja
awesome.
Porter.
They changed the name of the beer to the Ninja Porter.
I love it.
I'm sitting here at the bar, and I'm talking to one of the bar managers, and they're just like, screw it. And He just goes up to the board and he erases Nilla.
Screw this.
Changes it to Ninja, and I'm like,
takes the L and changes it into an N and puts a J in between.
So you look at that, but we want to appreciate everyone that's come and help us in regards to starting the Better On Draft podcast. And one of the people who have helped us is obviously Finesse Liquor. Now, Finesse Liquor
sir.
out in Warren, one of the big things that we love about Finesse Liquor is, one, they sell singles. That's like the fact of the matter is they sell singles, which really puts them on point above a lot of other beer stores.
So I can go in there and buy a single, because honestly, we play poker really close to there.
Oh yeah,
all
three of us play
all
poker.
three of them.
My apologies. You
Yeah.
are correct. I didn't mean to leave you out in any way.
That's okay.
That wasn't. So I could walk in there and buy a single or buy 2 bottles or.
Yeah, they sell basically singles of all the beers that they promote. They're not going to break off 6-packs of their Bud Light that they have.
Please don't.
They're not a craft beer only store like at 8 Degrees.
Right.
But along with liquor, they sell. They are your typical party store. They have liquor, they have beer, they have wine, they have a little bit of everything.
Very good.
So right now, they are giving us a deal.
I'm in.
deals.
I'm in. I'm in.
Okay.
They're giving fans
Beer
of the
deal.
Better On
What's-
Draft podcast.
beer deal.
What kind of deal?
So they're giving us 6-pack deals on Rogue beers. So they have Dead Guy, Brutal IPA, and the Hazelnut Brown.
What is brutal
IPA?
IPA? I saw that earlier. I've been waiting to ask about brutal IPA.
Well, it's
Can we-
an IPA name. I actually have never had it, so that's definitely something I can go to Finesse Liquor and get.
Sounds
it
like
for.
a very metal type of beer that we're going to
Well,
Very metal beer.
What's that Iron Maiden beer? Is that just a standard lager?
Oh,
or-
Trooper.
Trooper
It's
Trooper
an
lager.
English ale.
Yeah.
Okay, it's an English.
I would
ale.
have brought some if I had time to get home. It's a great beer.
Is it? You try and see if you
Had
can get it for
time
next
to
week.
get home.
I can bring it. I can
Bring it.
Wait,
I really
hold
wanna hear
on.
it.
Let's go back 3 seconds to that. At time to get home, you went to 2 bars before you got here tonight.
We're not going to talk about that. Why
And
are
the
you
fact
bringing
that
up?
you live
Now we're
like
bringing
a
up-
mile away.
Yeah, everyone else lives like a million miles away. I live like 5 minutes away, and I couldn't get home to get the Trooper.
So they're giving us deals $10.99 for those 6-packs for the Dead Guy, the Brutal IPA, and the Hazelnut, as well as they're giving us deals on Atwater beers.
Oh,
there you go,
no.
Nick.
Good.
The Dirty Blonde and the Grand Circus
you
6-packs.
got Dirty Blonde on sale too?
$6.49. The Atwater Lager and the IPA $12.49.
I'm in.
So,
Do we have to mention the show?
no, it's going to be a deal. So if you walked in normally without knowing of the show, you're going to get lucky. But if you walked in knowing of the show, then you'll know what the prices are. But that Hazelnut Brown from Rogue is so on
I've
point.
never had it. I need to try
And
it.
I think for the fact that they have the Brutal IPA, which I think we're going to have to bring back.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to
because of the
bring that in
name.
I'm
next
going to have
week.
to bring some Hazelnut Brown.
I
But
have
they
to bring
also,
some Grand Circus in too.
they were talking about. So do you guys watch? Have you guys ever watched Moonshiners?
No,
Yeah, I have. A little
I
bit.
haven't.
So Moonshiners is basically reality TV about people who created
Whose phone
moonshine.
is that?
Uh-oh, we got a phone.
Got a
ringing
phone
right now.
ringing.
We got a call. Do we really have
No,
a call?
it's the doorbell.
We really have a call right now.
It's deceiving.
Whose
So,
phone is ringing?
so they're talking about on the show they had mentioned a guy by the name of Popcorn Sutton who was like this
Is that what
major.
this is?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it's this
What is
major.
popcorns?
It's this major moonshiner. The guy had his own moonshine, and he wound up getting hit by, local authorities, FBI.
Yeah.
And his exact words were, "I will kill myself before I go to jail." Well, hate to break it to you, but he killed himself before he went to jail.
My boy Popcorn killed himself.
I must have missed that episode.
So he's really, really well known in the moonshine community. Like Hank Williams Jr. and Hank Williams III all made
Hank Hill.
songs. Not Hank Hill. Made songs about him. So there's actually this whiskey that was made in his name. And the fact of the matter is, if you like whiskey or if you're looking for whiskey, this Popcorn Sutton whiskey, you can't get it in this state.
Oh, really?
Except if you go to Finesse Liquor in Warren.
How do they?
look
how are
at
they
that.
the only
Hold on.
ones who?
Wait, hold on one
I
second.
know,
We got,
everyone
we got a
stopped.
message from one of our
Everyone
sponsors.
gets quiet.
not here?
Yes, Eric.
Okay, that's
There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
guest
Our
is
guest
here.
is here. I don't know if he had texted me and I had missed it. It's quite possible. And he
probably did.
He did. Nonetheless, though, we'll finish this up and we'll go on break. But nonetheless, so they have a whiskey. So it's not a moonshine. It's a whiskey. It's very, very hard to get. The closest place I saw on the website is Toledo. So if you go to Finesse Liquor, though, you can get Popcorn Sutton's whiskey over there. So we really appreciate Finesse Liquor for being our sponsor. Don't forget to check out all those deals on Atwater and Dead Guy Beers. Make sure to mention the fact that you heard them on Podcast Detroit.
Yes.
And you heard the Better on Draft podcast. But we are going to roll right into a break, and we will be right back with... All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next segment of the Better on Draft podcast. Once again, my name is Ken. Sitting, we're live, guys. By the way, we are live.
Dan was looking at the background on my phone. It's the Cobra Kai logo.
The Cobra is that a King Cobra. So sitting with me is Nick, Dan, and of course we have Eric over here from the Michigan Brewers Guild. Hello, Eric.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it. Welcome to the first episode. You're our first guest ever.
Wow,
You've popped our cherry for guests here.
That's hot. That is hot.
Our cherry old Bruin.
So that cherry old Bruin. There we go. So I actually just handed you a bottle of this. We all of us gave us kind of our input in regards to it. What do you think of the bottle from Kuhnhenn?
I think it tastes really good. It's been a while since I've had an old Bruin, but that's a nice flavor. I don't think I've ever had Kuhnhenn's either.
So Kuhnhenn, obviously on the back it talks about the fact that it's an old brown and it's traditional and stuff, and it says that it comes every 3 years. Now we're putting you on the spot, so if you don't know the answer, that's perfectly fine. But the fact of the matter is that you have more beer knowledge in your head than all four of us combined, including our engineer over here.
I know nothing.
That's what you think anyway.
I like beer. I know that.
So without us going over to Kuhnhenn and asking them, do you know why they can only produce it every couple years?
I think it's just by choice.
By choice.
Oh, there we go. There, I was right.
No, I don't know that for a
answer.
fact, but I mean, there's a whole process and a methodology when it comes to releasing beers and or marketing beers, and creating demand by not having it available all the time is a process that a lot of breweries use.
Well, that's obviously the key, and the thing is that that's what pretty much all brands, all markets, not just specific to beer. For you, though, as the Michigan Brewers Guild president, what is your job? Like, what do you do?
My role, well, first of all, I'll back up and say that the Michigan Brewers Guild has a board of directors that's got 7 people on it. They all have full-time jobs at breweries in the state. So they get elected by, I'll say by their peers, by the other brewery members in the guild. We do an election every year and fill those seats alternately, like 3 one year and 4 the next. And so it's a 2-year term for each board member. And those are all non-paying jobs. They're all volunteer. It's volunteer work for anybody that wants to serve on the board. There's the level of work you put into it is what you really want to put into it. I mean, like I said, everyone has their own job, and that demands quite a bit of time everybody's week.
Well, of course. So you obviously work for a brewery. What brewery do you work for?
I work for Rochester Mills Production Brewery in Auburn Hills.
And what is your job?
My title is the Director of Brewing Operations. I have brewing background. I brewed at Big Buck for 8 years, and then I was the head brewer at the Rochester Mills Pub for 5 years, 6 years, and then I've been running them.
So I'm assuming the Big Buck that was in Auburn Hills, not the one that's up
Not
in
the Gaylord one.
Gaylord, yeah.
The one right off of I-75, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I started there when they opened. I actually worked there through the whole brewery setup. It was actually a real cool process.
So they're affiliated with each other, the one
They
that
were,
closed in
yes.
Auburn Hills and the one that's in Gaylord.
Yep.
So, you work with the Michigan Brewers Guild. Obviously, at least 2 of us have been to multiple festivals. One of the big things that I wanted to talk about what was the biggest challenge, obviously, of the Winter Beer Festival this past year was the chilliness. It was cold, lines were freezing.
Chilly's an understatement.
Yeah, it was definitely. I recall saying it's not worth it to drink another beer and walking back to my car. That's how cold I was. I also bought gloves from the Michigan Brewers Guild, which helped me for like another half hour.
It extended the drinking
It
time.
did extend the drinking time. So obviously you ran into challenges there. People's lines were freezing. Have you seen that happen before? Has that happened before?
That hasn't happened. That was the coldest it had ever been for us at the Winter Festival. We've
Not
had
bad
some
for my
cold.
first time going there.
You picked a good one to go to. I remember looking at the thermometer in the car driving to the festival site each morning at 8, and it was 0 degrees both days.
Gosh.
And obviously that was still early enough where the sun hadn't started to get up and warm things up a little bit. Warmed it up to about 10 by the time the festival might have started.
Oh my gosh.
It was a heat wave.
Shorts weather.
Yeah. And we took different steps to we stored all the beer inside the building overnight. So the beer itself wasn't freezing, the kegs weren't freezing, but the beer in the lines, which is a narrow diameter piece, flow of liquid, just couldn't withstand that cold weather. So, I don't really know if there's a whole lot we can do without making it an indoor event or trying to close.
So there's no way you can do that.
No, I know.
Unless you go to like Kobo or something.
Or to close in every tent and try to heat each one, but that's not very feasible either. So we're kind of, I don't want to say we're chalking it up to just hopefully never have that bad of weather again. Obviously, we can keep an eye on the 10-day forecast, and if it seems like it's going to be terrible again, we'll see what extra steps we can take to kind of help breweries out and prevent that from happening. But it was, we're hoping it was once in a
Yeah,
a
it was
time,
definitely an interesting event. They had fire pits there, so they attempted as much as possible to keep everybody warm and everybody happy. But not to stay with a downer. Let's go to an upper. We have an upcoming event over in Eastern Market over at
let's talk about this.
The Fall Beer Festival.
Yeah. This is the 7th annual Detroit Fall Beer Festival. Takes place at Eastern Market, like you said. It's a 2-day event, so there's a Friday session and a Saturday session. The last few years, the Saturday session has sold out prior to the event. Friday tickets were still available at the gate, I think, every year. Mm-hmm. So, and that's tracking that way right now as well. We have a little more limited space there than we have at any of our other festivals, so we really are limited on what we can sell Saturday, which is why we have a Friday session. The tickets right now, there are 4,500 available, and we have about 500 left.
Oh, wow.
For Saturday.
Wow.
Not surprised.
So that one will sell out again. It's tracking that way within the next week for sure. It probably will sell out, and then this Friday tickets will be the only ones available until the day of the event.
Yeah, but it's definitely something. I remember you guys had a quick sellout. It was either last year or the year before. And I remember going to attempt to purchase the tickets, and you were sold out. And then I remember you released a limited amount of tickets afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because after you had done that, I had actually gone on Craigslist for all the people looking for those tickets. And been, I'm like calling them. I'm like, hey, go get your tickets now because it's obvious you want to go or you're not posting on Craigslist.
Yes.
Well, the reason we ended up releasing tickets, we don't typically like to do that. We don't want to string people along, tell them they're sold out, and then all of a sudden have some available at the gate. That's not our goal. Very last minute, the Eastern Market allowed us more space.
Okay.
And so we were
that was the first time you actually went into the...
Yeah, that's what happens. They allowed us to use that shed, and we'd never been able to use it before. So it kind of allowed us to move our boundary back for our area, giving more square footage, little more space for the breweries to have tables.
Probably allow more breweries to come in, too, because it seemed like this last fall, it seemed like there was more breweries at that one than in the years that passed. And me and Ken have been to.
We actually never tell a brewery they can't come.
Oh, no.
As far for Michigan breweries anyway, because that's the only ones we allow at our festivals. Mm-hmm. But what happens is when we get tables to register first, and then if we have extra space, we allow certain breweries to buy an extra table. So, if Bell's wants a second table or Atwater wants a second table or whoever.
I can see Bell's doing that.
But, we like that. We like the breweries that want to come in. They want to show their stuff. They get a big display.
And you have Bell's who brings a lot. Greenbush always brings a lot.
And there's some breweries are going to... we like every brewery to be visited equally, but we know that's not the case. There's the smaller ones just don't get visited as much as a Founders or a Bell's.
Well, see, the thing is, and we were talking about beer hype earlier and the lines and stuff like that. And when they release those one-offs at Bell's, those one-offs at Founders, and I'm just like, oh look, this brewery has absolutely nobody in line. I'm going to go grab a beer right now. Because by the time that I grab a beer and I go in line to Bell's, I'm like a third of the way through and my beer is gone. I'm like, well, I'm just sitting here doing absolutely nothing.
You could literally spend time waiting in line at a beer festival all day long and have 4 samples of beer in 6 hours. Yeah, or you could go around and have 15 to 20 samples and try a beer that you've never heard of before, try a brewery you've never been to.
Yeah.
And I try to suggest that to people, but obviously... everybody's got their fix, whether it's a cherry oat Bruin or a raspberry icebox from Kuhnhenn or it's a black note from Bell's or whatever the case is.
I'm always looking for that diamond in the rough anyway. Yeah. So it's nice to know that, hearing, go to the ones that you don't normally go to.
I'm the guy that would do that, too. I'm not going to wait in line for a half hour when
that's
I can
the
go
thing
to this guy and give him a shot.
Yeah.
I come up with a plan, and I'm like, I want to make sure I get in. There's like 1 or 2 that I want to make sure that I get to. But other than that, it's really just, oh, look, this place has no line. I'm going to look at their menu because they're going to have a little menu right behind them or right in front of them and be like, oh, look, you have X, Y. You know what? I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
Because sooner or later, I'm going to run into a beer that I'm going to like because I personally, and we talked about this earlier, I don't like IPAs. I don't like barrel-aged beers. So
you're the rare case in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, so we were talking about that.
God bless you, though.
Everyone's selling 15 IPAs, and like,
so
what do you do?
well, we were looking at a stat, and obviously we'll take it for what it is, and that's just something we found on the internet. But 1 out of every 4 new beers is an IPA or a style of IPA.
Doesn't surprise me.
And you look at all these beers and bars and places that we go to, and it's just the pale ale list is so long, and then it's like browns, reds, stouts, porters, apricot, wheats, and all these other beers, and it's like 3 beers.
Yeah.
Or they're all lumped together.
Yeah, all in one little thing.
All one little thing. Yeah.
Well, I think at the GABF this year that just happened last weekend, there were over 300 entries just in the English style IPA category.
Oh, wow.
Well, you mentioned the Great American Beer Festival, and we were able to actually pull stats from them, and we pulled that 48 Michigan breweries actually applied at the GABF for their beers for a total of 212 beers, and we actually got 6 medals.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge number, but it's one of those things where I've been there many times. I didn't. We sent beer out there this year, but I didn't go out there personally, and it's one of those things where it's a great marketing tool to win a medal and brag about it or talk about it, and it's good because it does mean that beer is great. But you know what? There are probably 1,000 other beers that probably were deserving of a medal that don't win because they only give out 3 per category, and sooner or later, only 3 are going to win in the category. So
exactly, and the thing is that there's always, for the fact that I don't like barrel age, I don't like IPAs. There's still thousands of beers for me to try.
Yeah.
I'm not running out of beers to try.
Not even close.
One of the things, like we were talking earlier, like I don't do chili beers. It's the only beer that I will not even attempt to look. You put a chili beer in front of me, I'll pass it to somebody else.
We were talking about Ghost Pepper Porter.
Sriracha beer and
Sriracha beer. Yeah.
I'll try a barrel aged, and the guys over at Grand Rapids Brewery were really, really nice. I told them I don't like barrel aged. They had like all barrel aged beers, all IPAs, and then one that wasn't. And I'm like, I'll try that one. This is at the Winter Festival, and they're like, hey, so they grabbed one of their cups and they poured out the barrel age, the one that they wanted me to try.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and the guy felt so bad when I gave that sour bourbon like face that and he's just like, I am so sorry. I'm like, I will try whatever you put in front of me. But the fact of the matter is I'm not going to promise I'm going to like it.
Right.
And with a lot of bourbon barrel beers, it needs to be a little bit warmer. It can't be that chilly type beer. And at the Winter Beer Festival, every beer was almost a slush, for the lack of better words.
There were a lot of slush.
I remember at Bee Nectar gave me a coffee brown. It was almost a slush. I'm like, all right, I'm down, because I love their coffee brown ale. So, working at Rochester Mills, the brewery, obviously, it's a really, really nice place. You got pool tables over there. You got a nice sized bar. I know you guys do a lot for. I think veterans get a discount there.
They do.
Nice. So you do a lot in regards to the community, and it's more than just a brewery. But I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your favorite beer that you've brewed, whether it's still in progress or not?
Well, I'll give you 3.
That's fine.
We've been drinking beer all day.
This time of year, I like Oktoberfest.
That's fair.
And another 2 styles that I will, if I see one of these on a menu somewhere, is a porter or a brown.
Nice.
So I'm more of a malty guy.
Good choice.
So me and you have a lot in common right now. Talking about that, we love browns and we love porters and those types of stuff.
Let's be real.
If you look at those beer rating places, there's the rating and then there's the rating by style. And whenever you have a brown, if a rating of like 85 for a brown is like a 100 in the style.
Yeah.
There
aren't a lot of people that make brown ales that distribute it. First of all, a lot of brew pubs will make a brown, but you don't see a ton of brown ales in a bottle.
You don't see a lot of brown ales, period. Yeah. Trust me. I look for them.
You would know.
Yeah, I definitely seek out the brown ales, and like I'll go to a brewery. There's a lot of times, my job has me driving a lot, so when I go in a different state or something like that, I'll look for the brown ales to try. I'll look for definitely all beers that I don't get in Michigan to try, but the brown ales, that maltiness is always what gets me.
Yep.
So my question to you, and this is definitely something that we'll be telling, what's your guilty pleasure? So like you're like, I'm not afraid
on the spot. Now you gotta.
Oh yeah, like for me, like I'll even go. We were talking about PBR earlier. We're talking about King Cobra earlier. Steel Reserve. For me, Stroh's in a bottle. Has to be in a bottle. Can't be in a can.
Oh, really? Where do you find that in a bottle?
Oh, you can get a lot of gathering place
maybe
in Troy.
I don't look for Strohs.
The gathering place in Troy has Strohs in a bottle, and I will always buy Strohs there.
I got two pleasures. I'll give you two things that I'll shoot for, and neither one. I don't feel guilty about either one of them.
All right,
I'll start with the craft beer. I like Cabin Fever by New Holland.
I love Cabin Fever.
Very good.
Brown
good
ale.
Choice. Yep.
Let's point that out.
And if I see Strohs on the menu, I order it.
Maybe it's the thing is the fact that we like that malty flavor. I don't know what Strohs has in malt, but the fact of the matter.
I always tell people, I'm like, every beer has its place. I mean, I like craft beer as much as the next person, but I'm not afraid to say, if I'm canoeing on a river somewhere, I'm not going to pack my cooler full of a bunch of bottles of craft beer.
Yeah,
right.
Give me some PBR, give me some Strohs, and I'll be fine drinking one of those after another all the way down the river.
Hand over fist Strohs.
That's the thing is you're talking, and we told the little joke earlier that every beer is a session beer as long as you try hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be a quitter.
So as part of the president of the Michigan Brewers Guild, my question to you is, you see so many upcoming breweries, so many things that are coming up. There's two in Lansing that are coming up, I think, this month that are being released.
News to me? No, just kidding.
So I know the LBC is coming. I know there's another one. What are you looking more forward to? Well, is there something that you're looking to? Like we're thankful here. Is it a brewmaster from a former brewery that opened up here? Or?
It's always nice to see somebody that I know that worked somewhere else, or that I may have worked with in the past, either open their own place or help start a new place up. I'll go back a couple of years and say that we had a goal. It was probably 4 years ago with the Brewers Guild to get to 100 breweries. I think we're at 177 just 4 years later.
Wow.
And that's just brewery members. That doesn't count the ones that don't join the guild. There's over 200 breweries in the state now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's amazing how, quick everything's just skyrocketed as far as the number of breweries go. So it's almost hard to keep track. We used to, I've been on the board of directors for 10 plus years, I think. So I've seen it. I've seen it go from the 40 to 50 breweries up to what it is now.
Wow.
And it's
you've definitely seen the explosion. Now we were talking about earlier. Do you see that bubble? Do you see
the peak beer?
Well, here's the thing: is right now our market share is still not even 10%, and you got other states that are showing similar booms or have been good front runners like Oregon or California, where not so much California because of the sheer size, but Oregon and Colorado are examples of a much higher market share of craft beer, especially beer brewed in that state. And I think even craft beer that's not made in our state doesn't even account for 10% added to ours. So while we may have a ton of breweries, I think that there's a huge room for growth still.
Really?
We would like to see 20% growth. Or 20% share.
Where do you see this growth, though? Because if you look at the areas, the Metro Detroit area, the Grand Rapids area, you got Traverse City is probably another conglomerate of beers. Where do you see this grow? That it's got to be close to people, but it can't. You can't keep opening breweries in the same area.
Yeah, well, the volume is going to come from just more people buying products from the same places. We're not going to come up with some new metropolises that are huge in the state of Michigan, but it's just going to be getting to the people that don't drink craft beer and getting them to pull craft beer off the shelf. Everyone's expanding. You can see Myers expanding their craft beer selection largely. Kroger's doing the same thing. So those big chains that have a ton of outlets are going to be the hugest avenue for getting the beer into people's hands. And then bars are doubling, tripling the number of taps.
Oh, very easily. Very easily.
Multi-taps are opening left and right. So there's it's just more and more outlets and expanded offerings to make room for all these places that are trying to get the beer into the place.
So basically, you're just saying like everything that you see in the media, because we were talking before you got here, Crane's releasing, that there's this big boom of you don't see that you don't see that there's a ceiling coming up. It's that we're still growing.
Right. It's going to keep growing volume-wise. The only thing that you may end up seeing is, obviously, anybody that wants to open a business in as a brewery right now can see that it's a hot industry.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not hot because it's a trend. It's hot because, it's what people want to drink. They like something that tastes good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Starbucks came out and they were making flavored coffees. It's not like people are going to get tired of it and all of a sudden want to go back to just drinking, Folgers out of a can or something. But So I don't see that going away. The one thing you will see, though, is that if anybody jumps into the industry and doesn't do their homework, doesn't do a good job of putting in some quality controls and getting somebody who's talented enough to make quality beer, the market's going to flush those people out. Because what's going to happen is people won't buy the beer, and they're not going to survive.
Well, that's the thing we talk about, like peak beer. Are we going to reach peak beer where that bubble bursts? It's going to reach at some point. We don't know when it's going to happen.
But it doesn't sound like it's going to be happening anytime soon. Almost.
We don't foresee it happening. Like, other than the quality issue will kind of force some people out, but I think the volume will continue to grow overall for a while.
I have a question. Well, as the president of Michigan Brewers Guild, what joy do you get out of, obviously you get to see all these new breweries that want to join the guild, and even not even wanting to join the guild, you get to see them grow. What joy do you get out of being the guy in charge of the Michigan Brewers Guild?
Well, it's been very interesting to see the story, the Michigan beer story overall. Like I said, it's been I've been involved for years, but even if I wasn't on the guild board for that long, just being part of the industry for that amount of time, when back in the mid to late 90s, when it was a really tight-knit family and everybody knew everybody, you were helping other breweries out, and that still happens, but because of
that's very cool.
Because of the influx of the number of breweries, now there's a lot of them where I was like, I've never been there. I don't even know anybody that works there. And, the festivals help that because you get to meet people when they check in to pick up their packet of stuff for the event.
It's like a big convention, basically, for all the brewmasters and anyone that works in the industry. It's almost like the an SAE World Congress if you're an automaker. You get to meet all the heads of all the automotives, basically.
And that's the one thing is, you get to meet a lot of people. You get to see the growth. You get to be a little bit on the inside and know a little bit of the specifics about the organization and how it got to where it is today. And other than that, it's just the people. Everyone that works in the industry they're all wonderful people. They're extremely nice. They're great friends. I mean, there's a lot of us. We get together and hang out socially where work's not involved.
That's cool.
Get together and have a couple Strohs and play some feather bowling.
Going over to Cashew over there.
Exactly. A big feather bowling fan.
They do have Strohs there.
Oh, yeah. Actually, Cashew definitely has a lot of imports as well as definitely a lot of Belgian beers. So my question to you is, taking away from the Michigan Brewers Guild and going back to Rochester Mills Brewing, you guys announced just recently that you're moving into Ohio and you're moving into Florida. How does that work for someone who doesn't necessarily know the difference between Ohio, every state south of Ohio, and then Florida? Like, how do you not?
It's a pretty big jump.
It was very selective. Well, first of all, I mean, we had to open our production brewery back in 2012 to even distribute beer because the brew pub in Rochester, as a brew pub license in the state of Michigan, can only sell its beer on site. Okay. So that's a whole other topic we can cover.
That's another show.
Does that include beer to go? Like if you could bottle your own beer and sell it?
Yes, you can sell it to go. It just has to be sold at that location.
So you can't distribute it, obviously, to other places.
And so that place opened in '98 and had been a pub all the way up until 2012. Still is, and they still produce all their own beer there. But we had to open a different brewery under different ownership, using the same name so that we could sell beer throughout the state. So we filled in the state of Michigan first and have distributor partners all throughout the state, and then we decided to go into northern Ohio. So right now we're in the whole northern third of the state of Ohio and have been for about a year, and now our plans are to expand and fill in the rest of Ohio, so that's what that announcement was. As for Florida, we actually were approached by a wholesaler in Florida who is a friend of one of our wholesalers in Michigan. He himself is a Michigan native. And so we said, well, we'll go down and we'll check it out. We'll have a meeting with the guys. We'll visit the area. And I think we went to 4 different bars in the 2 days. We were there for lunch and dinner and whatever else. And our server was from Michigan. Every place we went, I ran into an old neighbor of mine who lives down there now. We actually ran into John Mallett, who works for Bell's Brewery. He was just down there socially with his family. And then we went to another place to eat, and the person that waited on us went to high school with the owner that I was with. So
it just goes back to the main. It was
kind of like it's all Midwest and Michigan people on the Gulf side. That's where we started. We're in Tampa and Sarasota.
Nice. Very nice.
And so that was the reason why we said, it seems like a no-brainer. There's a lot of Michigan and Midwest transplants down there. They sell a lot of beer in Florida. They don't have a huge craft beer scene that's made in Florida, so they're looking for
they're looking for that industry.
Yeah, Cigar City's down in Florida.
Cigar City is the biggest one.
Big,
Yuengling have a brewery
Yuengling used to have a brewery down there, but I'm pretty sure they closed.
I don't know if they still open or not, but they still have a presence. I mean, Yuengling was everywhere, every place we went. But they're years behind where we are in Michigan and other states. We're lucky enough to be kind of on the front edge of the curve, I think. And so when you're trying to find a state that's hungry for beer,
Let me ask
if
you,
you get in there early, you might be able to make a splash.
Let me ask you this. You say we're on the front edge. People will say Portland is pretty good. Where does Michigan? Are we better? Or
From either reputation and or like sales share of beer, Portland's ahead of where Michigan is.
Still ahead of...
Yeah, but I would say that whole West Coast, you got Oregon, Washington, and California, and then you got Colorado. Those 4 states are ahead of where we were, and breweries were popular there, or they were coming up before breweries started to open in Michigan. Bell's started in 85, so that's a long time ago.
Really?
They're the oldest brewery east of the Mississippi.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize
I didn't even know that.
But when they were started, I mean, Larry Bell's driving the beer around in his car.
But that doesn't make sense because Yuengling's east of the Mississippi.
Like
Oldest microbrewery.
Technicality. So hold on, I'm going to interrupt because you mentioned that, and I'm going to ask you 2 very important questions. Okay. Whether there's no right or wrong answer, because I feel there's no right or wrong answer. Yuengling craft beer, yes or no?
As much as Sam Adams is.
That was the second question.
Well, and that goes back to there really is no law of what says a craft beer is a craft beer. The Brewers Association in Colorado kind of has come up with guidelines that dictates what makes craft, and so they have a couple different stipulations. One, it's got to be privately owned or not owned by more than 30% by a major brewer.
Okay.
So that's one thing. It's got to be use traditional ingredients, which means no rice or corn. That's the main thing there. And then it's independent, small. Oh, and then small, the size, the production. So think of what they were.
So under 6 million barrels.
Right,
I've read it.
But it used to be 2 million.
Yes, it did.
So it got raised.
It got changed. But the only reason it got changed is because as soon as Sam Adams or Yuengling or New Belgium will probably get there soon enough too, or Sierra Nevada, if they cross over that 2 million mark, all of a sudden they can't be included in their statistics anymore.
So they basically become mainstream, if you will,
right?
Once they cross that threshold.
Yeah, and for them to keep showing that there's growth and substantial growth in the craft beer industry nationwide, they need those big players in there. Now, granted, it is 6 million craft compared to 100 million or more that Budweiser makes. Yes,
Well, you're also looking at the fact that it is 6 million, but Yuengling and Sam Adams separately both are at 2.5.
Yeah, so they have some room to grow and still stay under that 6 million mark, but they're both over 2, which is why they changed it.
You still have Jim Neidhart with his beard hair in your beer.
Now, the biggest thing to me, Yuengling and Sam Adams both make craft beer styles of beer. And to me, that's more important. If they're still, thank God for Sam Adams. They market every craft beer style they make, which is like 30. Yeah. So they're advertising porter on the radio or on the TV. They're advertising pale ale.
Craft beer style?
It's not Golden American Lager.
Okay, so not
Budweiser. It's not a Bud White.
Not an American Adjunct.
Not a King Cobra.
And not that a craft brewery can't make a Golden American beer. That's or American Pilsner. They can easily do that if they want to, but that's not what people look for.
So we're looking because I think we're on the same page, and I think we have a lot more in common than we knew before. I'll tell you in a second. I poured everybody a beer. I'll definitely get you a glass of
Eric
it too.
some right now.
Do I want it? Let me see what these guys are reacting first.
It's very good.
It's from
Smells good.
It's from the brewery.
Well, you can choose. You can have a Yuengling Black Tan that I've half drank.
It's the brewery's autumn maple.
Okay, awesome.
So I got it from the Michigan Growler Company.
Okay.
Out in the Southfield. So my question to you is, you're talking about the style, and I think we're on the same page. I'm gonna name a beer, Killian's. Is that craft beer?
Is that an import?
I don't consider it. It's a Coors product.
Yes.
I don't consider anything that's put out by one of the major brewers to be considered craft, mostly because of the size.
Ken, where we saw Killian's on import.
We see Killian's on import all the time. Same with the Blue Moon.
I always like it when you go into a place and a craft beer is not on the domestic page or whatever.
Oh yeah,
in the US.
There's this bar up in Troy where they have domestics. I'm like, but why isn't the brick on the domestic? It's like 2 miles away.
Made right in Royal Oak. So but think about Anheuser-Busch a couple years ago. They came out with their little craft series. They had a Hefeweizen, they had a Pale Ale, and something else.
Well, they've always had different styles of beer. They had their red. They had a red that they tried. They definitely had a black that they tried. So they've had different attempts into the craft beer industry for people who are looking for those alternatives.
And there's actually the Brewers Association did I don't want to say a study, but they did a pretty good article and some review of something they called craft versus crafty. And it was big brewers trying to be craft or trying to mimic craft, and they were labeling those beers as crafty instead of craft beer. So So I actually threw a term at it.
So you look at that now. You have Goose Island, which is part of the major
90 minutes,
and everybody still considers it craft. You have Founders, who is owned by a Venezuelan, I believe, Spain.
Yeah.
Spaniards,
own 30% or more, which is,
and they were 30%, so it was like just over that threshold.
Yeah, so you have that. I mean, Dogfish Head technically is still under it, even though they just sold a vested interest into another business who they're just looking for capital. That's basically why they sold into.
I think the way the wording in the Brewers Association,
well, it has to be a non-liquor, non-beer, non-alcohol style of companies.
Yeah, so you could be owned by 75% by a non-alcohol
so
industry
Walmart
company.
could own 75% of you, and you're still technically a craft.
Waiting for that shoe.
So where do you see Founders? Where do you see Virtue? Because Virtue...
Yep, just got
same, bought by Anheuser-Busch.
Goose Island Anheuser-Busch thing. Well, it's one of those things where a lot of these. I mean, you're going to see a ton more moves like this. That's the next thing I think you're going to see.
Oh, I think this is just the lower fall.
This is the beginning.
Consolidating, or you'll see two craft breweries, consolidating, or you'll see a big brewer buy a small brewing company because they see future. In that company, and they also want to have. They know that they can't beat crafts. Like if you can't beat them, join them. So. Instead of they see a brewery that's ripe for the taking, or interested in maybe a buyout, and say, hey, I put my time and effort in. I put 30 years of my life, blood, sweat, and tears into this company. Are they worthy of a buyout and taking a check home and saying, I don't have to work anymore? No. Hell yeah! I mean, why not? I mean, as long as they are done doing that, or they can take that money and turn around and open another small brewery. I mean, they can do whatever they want with it. Now, the only thing that what you hope to see is that you don't see one of the mega breweries squash that company. As long as they're willing to let it keep operating under its own umbrella.
Have we seen that?
So far, all of them are still operating in their own individual brewery. They just have an influx of capital, so they get a bunch more equipment that they need. They can fix things that they've been, stringing along without having to do that.
They can produce a hell of a lot more.
Yeah. Some of the recipes can be produced at their packaging plant, so they can do that.
Instead of being like, I'm Bud Light, whatever.
Yeah. So as long as they maintain, I think, the actual brewery name and the brand names, and just, if anything, they're just helping them out by using their experience and their resources, as long as they let them keep operating the way they want.
Well, that's the thing is if you have a big... a technical failure in regards to a brewery, you might not have the money to sustain that fix. Therefore, you might not have the money to continue business. So, whereas, you see these companies, Elysian, Goose Island, Virtue,
10 Barrel,
all these companies who are seeing that to where they're basically having a safety blanket to produce their own beer.
And if you look at them on a map, they're very strategically finding them throughout the country. So
really,
at least that's what I've noticed. So it wouldn't surprise me to see one come up in the southeast. I mean, you'll see something in every area. So they're not buying 3 of them all in the northeast or 4 of them in the northwest.
Well, it was interesting, definitely, to see the Virtue sale go, just because it's not your standard. It's not a craft beer. It's a cider. But definitely seeing that being purchased, and obviously that was from the Goose Island. The company of Goose Island, who is owned by Anheuser-Busch, but Goose Island bought Virtue, correct?
I think that's correct. I think the reason that came up is the guy that started Virtue came from Goose Island. So there was a connection there.
That makes a little more sense now.
And I don't know if you read the whole article. What I read was that Virtue started up. They were up and running. They were doing their thing, but they got way behind on some payments to a bunch of apple growers.
Okay.
And
Well,
we're kind of hitting a
that's
brick
like
wall.
a knight shine in armor right there.
So
Here we come.
my guess. I mean, I really don't know the details of what happened, but
Well, I guess if it's Bush, then it's Clydesdales. A night on Clydesdale.
And the next thing you know, you're on a Super Bowl commercial on the Clydesdales, right?
and I hope that doesn't sound bad. I'm not bashing.
Well, no.
It was all in a public story.
You know, one of the things, and obviously, I don't know if they are part of the Michigan Brewers Guild, but the guys over at North Center Brewing, they have a slogan that says, "If you like it, it's a good beer." And that's definitely something that all three of us
slogan.
Absolutely.
all three of us follow.
Actually, I was going to say something about that earlier when you were talking about what you do at festivals, and you were saying, "Well, I go where there's no lines."
Yeah.
And the point I was going to make is there'll be some winners and some losers to you, but something that you don't like is going to be something else that somebody does like.
Right.
AKA barrel aged and IPA.
Look, your
I love
opinion of
King
bad
Cobra.
is different from his.
And do you want to drink a King Cobra after the show?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm
I'm-
down a
I'm-
few.
Oh,
beers.
I
Here we
might
go.
be
That's
down
where
for
we're
a
at.
King Cobra later, Dan.
Can we do a bottle share? You'll bring a King Cobra. Maybe I'll bring a old.
Hey, there's a
English.
party store
You can
right
bring a
up-
Milwaukee's
Yeah,
Beast.
Milwaukee's Beast. There is a party store right down the street. So.
Old English 800. Would be good.
Monkeys. We'll make brass monkeys.
That was
really
actually
good.
one of my favorite malt liquors
Yeah.
for the longest
OE?
time. Yeah, OE.
Nick drinking.
I used
OE.
to drink OE. And that was a while ago. I'm just gonna go
I love
throw
it.
that.
I love it.
So we're definitely we're skipping our little break in between 3 and 4 because we appreciate you coming and we want to talk to you a little more.
Absolutely.
There's
That's
definitely
going to cost you, by the way.
I got a couple bucks in my pocket.
I was gonna say
maybe
I get my
another-
money
maybe another
to him.
beer.
I think
I got more beer
We've
in the
already
fridge.
bought
Get the $10 beer from Ken.
We've already bought 6 tickets to your upcoming festival. So.
You're good.
There's one point that I wanted to make in regards to the news that we had typed up in regards to prepping for the show. And have you ever heard of Supplemental Brewing?
Oh, don't get me started.
Hold on,
So apparently
hold on,
Dan's
hold
done
on,
his
hold on.
research.
Dan did his research.
Apparently, I need to hear what you guys have to say about this.
So Supplemental Brewing is supposed to be this post-workout beer. It's beer packed with protein.
No.
So being a brewer, being someone who can, make the recipe, what do you see in this? Do you see something good, something bad? The fact that you have to take a recipe and add a bunch of protein to make it.
Well, the only thing there's a challenge there because I think the TTB,
What's that?
that's the Tax and Trade Bureau for the federal government that all alcohol businesses have to pay tax on the alcohol they produce.
Okay.
Used to be called the ATF, which is Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
ATF.
So the ATF
Beavis
is now
and
the
Butthead.
TTB.
They changed their name.
The beer and cigarettes.
I guess you learn something new every day.
But you can't make health claims on an alcoholic beverage.
Really?
Huh.
So, at least that's as far as I know. That's the way it reads. So, if you wanted to say, "Here's a beer," but it's
I know
all
Dan
good for
did a
you.
little bit more research than we did. Obviously, we can't say it's good for you. And obviously, I don't know what they're saying in regards to the fact that they're packing 2 different beers. They have the Brewteen
Okay.
and the Nutra-Beer.
He totally set this up to make me get mad. He totally brought this
no.
subject.
We're-
We have
we're-
3 pages, and this is what he brings up.
You're not breaking stuff on the table yet. You're doing it right.
Please don't break anything on the table.
So Dan, what have you seen in regards to? I know you did a little bit more
Well,
research than
what
all
I
of
know,
us.
I mean, I am kind of big, but what I know
I'm kind of a
is-
big deal. I don't know. That's what you said.
Oh, here we go. Now we're just piling on. Here's the pile right here. Number one, when it comes to alcohol, grain alcohol. If you're gonna list things, you're gonna do grain alcohol, protein, carbs. What are you gonna have? Grain alcohol takes precedence over everything. That's gonna burn in your body before you do anything else. It's gonna burn if you're exercising, if you're lifting weights, if you're doing whatever you want. The grain alcohol has to burn completely out of your body before it goes to the protein, before it comes to the carbs, before anything else.
Thanks,
So,
Doc.
Are you a personal trainer or something? I didn't know about this about you, Dan. What the hell?
He's gonna have his own medical show after this.
Yeah, I
Might
guess
as
so.
well,
You're gonna be on channel 62 after this?
It goes grain alcohol. It'll go protein. It'll go carbs. Rice alcohol kind of falls in there because it's kind of different. You need a big mix. You can't do the 0 carbs because you need carbs to burn fat. Fat can't burn without carbs. Another
See,
good
he's
thing.
onto something here.
I know what I'm talking about. That's why.
So that's why I can't lose weight.
Oh, come on. You're not exactly that big of a guy. I'm not that big. You guys.
I was going to say, let's look at, I'm the biggest
Well,
guy in the room right here.
All right, I kind of started that without looking.
I also have the least amount of hair in the room,
All right,
too.
I'm pretty big, too. I've weighed almost 300 pounds myself. Let's not
Oh,
pretend.
that must be
Let's
nice.
not pretend I'm
I remember when I almost weighed 300 pounds,
Let's not
and now I weigh
pretend I'm
350.
Hey, I was pushing 200.
I'm
man.
not some pinnacle of fitness as I move the microphone. But seriously, you can't. Zero carbs doesn't work. 100% protein doesn't work because you can only burn about 25 grams of protein per serving or per meal. So this is just going to get people in a bad situation. You're going to you're going to drink this beer. You're going to have too much protein, and then your body is burning grain alcohol. It goes, like I said, it's going to go grain alcohol, protein, carbs. What are you going to do at that point? It's just going to make you fat.
There you go.
It's going to make you fat.
You apparently did your homework
I'm trying to
before
say
today,
this
didn't you?
without sounding like a dick.
Oh,
And
sound like
I
a
really
dick.
am
We
gonna
don't
sound
care.
like a dick.
Did you guys put your disclaimer at the front that you're not a real doctor?
What
You-
disclaimer?
You
I'm
play,
not a-
you
I'm
play
not
with
a
a
real
TV
doctor.
doctor.
The only thing we said
I
at the
do-
front was pop that 40.
Especially lately, I do work out kind of hard. I do have sources that tell me about this, and I was just having them back me up on this. But seriously, if you're drinking a beer after a workout, even if it's on a Friday, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Putting all the fat
seriously.
back on you just worked
Yeah.
off.
You're
As I
gaining
say
it
here,
right back.
As I say here, here's your disclaimer that I'm drinking 10% beer or more. Let's be real.
I mean, I'm not going to work out on a Friday night
So wait,
after work because I'm going to gain it
Can you
anyway.
drink it before a workout? And
No. Don't work out and drink alcohol before. Don't do that.
And this,
That's-
ladies and gentlemen, is why I don't work out.
Me neither, but that's not the reason.
You guys are making me feel bad that I even know what I'm talking about.
No, we're not making
You're
you
acting
feel
like a
bad. We're-
brainiac in
I
the
feel
room
like I
right
should
now.
be sitting here and be like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm just gonna drink my
Dr.
beer."
Dan over here with a
not
Yuengling
Dr.
Black and
Yeah, I
Tan.
know.
He's got a
As
black
I'm
and tan in
drinking the-
hand,
and whatever this
and whatever
is, and
Ken
the
just
other.
poured us like 15 minutes ago.
And I don't deny I'm pretty big. I'll
Well,
say
you're
you're bigger than
well,
everyone else here.
You know, I'm pretty heavy for my height. You know,
What are you, 4'6"?
I'm 5'1".
Oh, okay.
On my license it says 5'3", though.
you lied.
I lied.
strength
I lied to the state.
Well,
apparently.
no. The fact of the matter is that it's definitely something interesting, something new. Obviously, everyone's looking for the next intro
It's just,
into the
it's
beer.
just odd. You know how you can make a supplement drink that you would take after working out.
I think it's going to be a
And it's a
lot
beer.
of, for lack of better words, false advertising.
It is.
It's
It's
going to
gotta
be a
be.
lot of the fact that not false advertising, but false promises in the sense to where
Well, here's the thing.
yes,
It's
it
a
will.
fad.
It will have those protein in it. It will have that. But it's not going to act the way you think it's going to act, and they're not going to tell
be
you
the
that.
total reverse way of how they're advertising it. I guarantee
we're in the protein fad right now. Remember before we had the no carbs fad or whatever it is.
Yeah, the
can't
Atkins
burn,
diet.
You
Atkins
can't
diet,
burn
yeah.
fat without carbs, which means you can't build muscle without carbs. Good luck. Good luck if you're going to do that.
If it works, I will. I don't even want to know.
You want
Obviously, we'll be drinking that, and
Yeah,
hopefully
I'll
they'll
be
be
drinking that
sponsoring
after.
us. And-
I will
in
work.
6 months.
This is what I'll do.
us.
I will work out. I will leave work. I will go to the gym. I will work out, and I will drink it before we do the
You're
next
supposed,
show.
yeah, you're supposed to drink it after. Apparently, for those reading about this, but that
After?
grain alcohol.
yeah, it's supposed to
when
be a
your
post-workout
weekend meets
drink.
Your workout.
Well,
so,
I guess it just means I just drink more before the show
yeah,
anyway.
you just drink your
Twist your arm.
just
Eric
drink-
knows what I'm talking about.
So, obviously Dan explains about the supplemental.
Yep.
We touched briefly in regards to the 6 beers that had won awards over at the Great American Beer Festival. So we want to give them a little bit of credit. The Double Entendre from River's Edge got a silver. The IPA from Arcadia got a silver.
Yep.
The Rogue River Brown, all right, brown ales from Rockford Brewing. The Concrete Dinosaur from Right Brain. Melt My Brain from Shorts. and Ridiculous from Founders.
Ridiculous.
And
yes.
Ridiculous is actually the only one to get a gold. They got a gold for the
That's a good
Imperial
beer.
Red Ale. I actually like it myself. I'm
That's
a
a
big
good
fan
beer.
of Reds.
I haven't had it yet, but it's been getting a lot of press and a lot of buzz lately. So.
Yeah.
Are they going to be bringing it to the Fall Beer Festival?
You know what? Wouldn't I don't. The beer lists are there. People are just submitting them now, but it wouldn't surprise me if they followed that gold medal up with having
So,
that beer festival.
so does the beer list get compiled like really, really close to the festival because people just don't know what they're bringing yet?
A little bit. A lot of breweries tend to work last second. For one reason or another, either because of personal traits or
Sounds
just
like my
because
career.
they don't know what they're going to have.
Everyone's
Right,
Are you
yeah.
kidding me?
But we do the registration process in a two-step way. We get all the breweries to register first, so we know how many breweries are coming, so we know how much space and tables to allow.
Yep.
And then we calculate how much beer we're going to buy from each one based on that.
So the Brewers Guild buys the beer? Is
That's our single biggest expense.
Oh, I would
Beer,
have to
and
think
then
so.
here's the ones. Okay.
so
I mean,
it's not like a donation.
You would think a lot of people think that they think that the beer gets donated to our
Yeah.
festivals. I mean, unfortunately in Michigan it's illegal, or fortunately or unfortunately, it's illegal to donate alcohol in the state of
Double-edged
Michigan.
sword.
Yeah.
It's great for the brewers because they don't have to get people knocking on their door every week
Right.
saying, "Hey,
So-
can you lend me a keg or
Yeah, so they're making a little bit of money in the process of donating,
Yeah,
half a day.
but
to go into
this
the
is
event.
definitely a marketing event.
Oh,
for them.
absolutely.
It is. They get that
Yeah.
out of it. I mean, but we just for instance, the Summer Beer Festival, which is our biggest total attendance event
Up in Ypsilanti.
Yep, we
Really?
we spend $100,000 plus on beer.
Wow.
As an organization,
See,
so people wonder where their ticket price goes. I mean,
It
goes
goes
towards
basically
the
to paying for the
beer.
beer, basically.
and we pay a lot of money for all the tents, the bands, and everything. I mean,
Wow.
it's just
I
all that
didn't
stuff
realize
costs a
you do
lot of
that.
money. It's a pretty big budget.
Wow.
But
See, I mean, I've only been to the fall beer one, the fall festival at Easter Market.
Yep.
I haven't been to any other ones. I would have to think that one's a big one because there's just so many people attending that one, and it's in Detroit. You have the Rensen in the background. You have Easter Market, which is this very, very prominent.
It could potentially be colder. That's the
Well,
problem.
besides,
I think that's-
well,
Yeah,
you're at the end of
I will say
October.
last year it wasn't very bad. Last year,
No, it hasn't been bad
wasn't
for the
bad
last
last
few
year.
years.
The one year that you and I went together, Ken, it was freaking freezing.
I don't remember. I was drinking.
Freaking freezing.
I think
That was
that's-
I don't know if I
freezing.
can really swear on.
I
this
think
show.
that has a big thing to do with it because we also
sure.
thought the Detroit one has the potential to be pretty big.
Yeah.
I would like to say cold has a factor in it, which it probably does, but look at the Winter Beer Festival, sells out in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
Good
it's not all,
point.
but there's other factors, that go into play for that one. I think people
Right.
just like doing something weird and wacky and being outside in the middle of winter drinking beers.
Well, I think it's a ball.
Grand
Personally.
Rapids also has the ability where it's not too far away from Detroit, Indianapolis, and Chicago.
Yeah.
So where I'm sure you probably have a lot of out-of-staters who come in to that festival, whereas Detroit really, you're on the border, so unless you're getting a lot of Canadians, which
Right.
I really don't see too much of that.
Or
I would see
Toledoians.
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 We'll just call them mud hens.
Mud hens.
When the mud hens come up.
The Mud Hens.
I really see like that's pretty much where you're going to get your biggest
Yeah.
influx of out-of-staters or out of
Well, Grand
areas.
Rapids also has an incredibly intense, hyper-local beer scene going on over there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Oh, yeah. big
that
time.
also helps that.
I-
yeah.
I was gonna say I went to one, and obviously it's really really off place. I went to Jaden James.
Jaden James.
Yeah, that was the
porn
one that I went not know. Is that the name of
Yeah,
it?
Jaden James Brewery,
Yeah,
Cascade Winery.
So I was gonna say, there's no porn star that I know of.
What the heck are
But
you
out of
watching, Ken?
all the breweries that I went to, like that was the one that I was like, all right, this is the closest to where I'm gonna be. This is where I'm gonna stop,
Yep.
and definitely a great place to go grab beers. They have wines there too. The staff is very very helpful in regards to moving you to the beers that you need to go to or the drink that you need to go to. So in regards to the Grand Rapids scene, I mean something as simple as Jaden James. You know exactly what it is, and it's not your Founders. It's
Yeah.
not your GR Brewery. It's
Well,
not Perrin, I believe Perrin's
Perrin.
Yeah,
Perrin's
Perrin's
just
in
north
Grand
of
Rapids, yeah.
Perrin is actually a lot closer to the Winter Festival site than any other brewery. It's right there in Comstock
I mean,
Park.
I really got to give shout out props to the Grand Rapids community because I was there. I know I've been drinking too much. Oh gosh, man! All right. Well,
Welcome to the
cheers.
show.
I was in Grand Rapids earlier this year, and just the scene there, the craft brewing scene is just it's so big.
Well, did you guys take that bus?
Yeah, we did.
We talked about that.
Yeah. So they have a bus that goes around from all the breweries that Tara found on the internet. She's like, because she wanted to go to all the breweries in Grand Rapids. We ended up going to 4 of them throughout the course.
Amazing.
It's like a $20. It's like $15-$20.
That's pretty nice.
It's
a great time.
I forgot how much it was, but it wasn't that much. And this guy, he does it as a side job. It's not even his full-time job.
I'm sure.
He bought a beater bus, fixed it up, and he drives you from brewery to brewery in Grand Rapids.
Here we go.
Hey, that's the best way to do it.
Oh, absolutely. And we had a ball. I mean, we were talking to all these people. There was a bachelor party and all that. And we didn't go to Founders because the line was literally out the door. Around the corner. And the blocks in Grand Rapids are huge, so...
Yeah, those guys make great beer, but it's definitely off the charts as far as trying to get in there or going to get beer at one of their
we were explaining it earlier. I was in Grand Rapids for work one day, and it just happened to be the Devil Dancer release day. So here I am parking a half mile away just so I could get in there to get beer to take home.
But you didn't know that was going on.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm not going to do this.
So... we got the Fall Beer Festival coming up. What date is it?
It's the 23rd and 24th, I think. That's a Friday and Saturday.
All right. Both are at Eastern Market. Where can you get tickets?
mibeer.com.
mibeer.com. What else? Is there anything else that you do there? Or
that's the Michigan Brewers Guild website, so it's got any information on there about our, other festivals or events that are going on. It's got some archives of our magazine that we publish every year. It's got a calendar. Nice. It's got all the listings of all our brewery members. So, yeah.
All right.
If you like beer information, it's on there.
And how can we find you about Rochester Mills? Where is it located?
Well, the Brew Pub, which is the only thing that's open to the public, is in downtown Rochester. It's at 400 Water Street, which is a couple blocks east of Main Street, right in the heart of downtown. Full menu, full bar. Like you said, pool tables. They got live bands on Friday and Saturday nights.
Oh, it's Friday night.
Oktoberfest
coming Friday.
Up,
and no, we actually our Oktoberfest event. I can't talk either. And I've only had one beer.
I'm like 16.
Oktoberfest was actually last weekend.
Okay. I'd actually gone to the Oktoberfest Beer Festival, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And at your door, you had a Rochester Hills police officer. And I look up, and it's my 4th grade teacher. Who's a Rochester Hills police officer. And mind you, I'm with my sister, who had the same 4th grade teacher.
Pretty wild.
And he looks at us, and I'm like, oh no, something bad's about to happen. Because he would always tell the story back. Now, I somehow remember this in 4th grade. He would always tell the story of Rochester Road before it gets to downtown, that hill where it goes down, and he would sit at the bottom of the hill because nobody could ever control their speed because it drops down to 35 and then 25 real quick.
Yep.
So it was just like, I'm hammered, by the way, when I'm seeing him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Crap.
There's no way out of that one.
So, yeah.
That's all right. They're outside of a beer event. They know people are drinking.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't too bad. But nonetheless, we want to thank you for coming. We want to thank our sponsors, Finesse over and Warren, for giving us definitely some deals in regards to some upcoming beer prices. 3 Nick Scoreboard we want to talk about real quick. On next Friday, they're going to be tapping a barrel-aged Fat Lad Imperial Stout.
I'm there. Do I have time to get there
stout,
before I come
stout. I'm there.
That starts at 11 a.m.
Oh, there we go.
I'm
11 a.m. I'm in.
Calling in sick that day.
I am too, apparently.
That day, they're going to be infusing New Belgium's Pump Kick and Oak Chips. And these oak chips were circling in whiskey and bourbon blend, a whiskey bourbon blend for 6 months.
Wait a minute.
Like 9 steps.
Can we get that guy on the show?
They added cranberry. He'll be on the show one day.
Good.
He's our sponsor, of course. He's going to be on the show.
Bring him in. I want to talk to him.
They're came up with this process. Right?
Adding cranberries to the flavor to intensify the cranberry back end. That's what he explained. Obviously, I am not engineer enough to understand what's going on.
That sounds like a pretty complicated.
Yeah, it does.
With that in mind, I appreciate everyone for coming out. Eric, thank you again for
You're welcome.
us for the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
And don't forget to like us on Facebook, search for the Better on Draft podcast, follow us on Twitter at Better on Draft. As well as
Facebook.com/BetterOnDraft.
Thank you. You can follow me. It's Kenco_BOD. Nick?
You can find me on Twitter at Nick
Oh, Lord,
_BOD.
do I have to get mine?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ghetto Dan.
Can they find
it's
you on
still
social media at all, Eric?
I
or-
need to update mine.
You can find me at the brewery.
At the brewery.
At the Brewery.
The Brewery.
All right, you don't have to worry for all of us here, we'd like to thank you for listening. But no matter what beer you think is the best, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Sir.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Cheers.